Mr. David Feldman, founder, CEO of Bare Knuckle Fighting Championship. How are you?
I'm doing well, Eddie. Thanks. How are you?
I'm doing well myself. What sparked your passion and desire to start a bare knuckle league, basically?
It started a long time ago. I've been in the boxing my whole life, and I promoted boxing. I was a professional boxer myself. My dad's in the Hall of Fame for training professional boxers, trained 7 world champions. So it's something I've been involved in my whole life. And then one of the fights I was promoting in Arizona, I met a unique individual who approached me to get on the fight card, was Bobby Gunn. And after talking to him a little bit and friending him over the course of the next few years, we started talking a lot about bare knuckle and how they did it in Ireland and Scotland, and they would bet money on it because he's a traveler, so a lot of the travelers did that. So I got to know him, got really piqued interest in it, started researching it a lot, and said, look, I said to him, man, I'm going to promote one of these bare knuckle fights, and he's like, no way, my pal, no way. And I said, okay. So we did it in August 5th, 2011. We did one bare knuckle fight on an MMA undercard on an Indian reservation at an Indian casino in Scottsdale, Arizona. Did overwhelmingly well, over 5,000 people in attendance, and pay streaming was so new back then that the streaming actually broke because we were doing so much. The paywall broke, so we didn't get paid, but we were already on our way to over 1 million buys.
Wow.
Which was, it was unbelievable, but we didn't end up getting that money from it because of what happened, but it was incredible. So I saw what happened. We lost all the money, but I saw what happened, and I said, I got to make this happen. And then I just started pitching states, and it got to the point where I got beat up by a bunch of states. By 28 states said no, and I just said, look, I think it was at like when the 25th state said no, I was like, I have to make this happen now. Like, I don't care if I make money, lose money, I don't care what happens now. I have to make this happen. And we pushed and found a great partner with Brian Pedersen out in Wyoming. Hats off to him for taking a shot on us. And we put on one hell of a show. And here we are on our 4th show, going international and talking to some big people about some big things happening in 2019.
So let's talk about the ring design. Whose idea was it to make it circular? Traditional boxing is square, obviously.
Right. Our first design was actually a hexagon ring. So we were doing a hexagon shaped ring, and then as we were going through with some of the people that are involved in this, it could be a lot more easily confused for a cage. So we did the circle ring, and we designed it, and we were like, wow, this is unbelievable. This thing looks great. So we had, it's funny because here's part of the story. We had a picture of that on the computer. We sat it on the bleacher right before the first show, and it was identical. And we were like, holy shit, it actually turned out exactly how we designed it. But the key was to design something that you wouldn't get mixed up for. So if you're in a boxing ring and they were doing bare knuckles, they might get mixed up if they're clicking by the channels and say, oh, well, you know what, it's boxing. Well, there's no mistake here. It's different. People are going to stop and actually take a look at what it is. And part of the pattern of the design is what we call toe the line, and have the lines in the center of the ring where the fighters start from. And I think that's the most unique part about the ring.
Well, let's talk about that. What was the idea behind the format, making the guys kind of start almost in the pocket, really, just right off the bat, as opposed to coming from the corners?
Everything we did for this ring, and everything we did in the rule set, and everything we did with bare knuckle fighting was actually designed for action. Designed so it would be action fights. So we made a circle ring, which you don't have any corners to get trapped in, so there's always going to be action. We made them start off in a circle with 2 lines 3 feet from each other, 2 4-foot lines 3 feet from each other. If you just throw a punch from 3 feet, you can hit the other guy. So it was all about action. Some of the rules that we did with the clinching and the collar ties, everything that we did designed in this was all about action. So that's really what it was about. Where could we get the most excitement and the fans could get the most out of this? And that's where it was from.
Now, we see a lot of MMA veterans, some past, some still current, that are just flocking to bare knuckle boxing. Why? What is it about the sport that is just drawing so many MMA fighters as opposed to traditional boxers?
I think if they're a really great jiu-jitsu practitioner or a wrestler, most of them won't lean towards bare knuckle. But I mean, we did have Kendall Grove, well-established black belt in jiu-jitsu, and I'm sure we're going to have more. But I think a lot of these guys, it falls in between. They know that they can really stand and bang, and they're not really the grappler. So this is their opportunity to really become. Right now, I think it's their opportunity to become an icon, pioneer in a brand new sport where they get a chance to stand out, and they're not just mixed in with all the different MMA fighters that there are out there now, because now it's limited. I mean, we've had only 70 fighters fight so far, so we've only had 28 fighters actually fight, 28 fights. So 28 fights, 56 unique fighters. So they're only one of 56 people instead of being in MMA where they're one of thousands and thousands of people. So I think that's what's really drawing them over now. And I think it's exciting, and they're getting the notoriety that maybe they're not getting in MMA right now at this point.
Do you think we'll see the return of bare knuckle MMA?
I absolutely. I know you will. As more and more of these states start opening up with this, I mean, it's the next natural turn. It's absolutely going to happen. People are pitching us every day. Why don't you do bare knuckle MMA? Why don't you do bare knuckle MMA? But I think it sets us apart not doing bare knuckle MMA. But I know people are going to do it soon. Yeah, they'll do it.
Well, February 2nd, you're taking the promotion to Cancun, Mexico. BKFC 4. What made you hit Cancun, and I mean, why the USA versus Mexico?
Well, we wanted to do. We looked international before we ever made the United States, because we kind of got fed up, and we're like, well, I think we're going to have to go international first. But then the door opened, and I think to actually be a legitimate sport, and people take you seriously, you kind of have to get legal in the United States first, and then people understand that it's a little more legitimate, that you didn't go somewhere else to hide. Not that these other countries will allow you to do different things, but some don't have the type of regulations that you do in the United States. So we went to Cancun because actually one of our partners that sells our commercial pay-per-view has an office down there, and he brought me down there, and we met Roberto Valenzuela's nephew who runs the stadium. We met him, and he said, we showed him the video, we showed him the vice piece they did on me and the company, and he was just like, oh, this bare knuckle, we got to bring it here. So, the deal worked, and it's going in there. And I think we just threw the USA versus Mexico theme on there with all the stuff's going on with politics right now. I thought it was a good spin on things, but we're doing it in a positive way. We're actually doing like Team USA versus Team Mexico, and we're doing it to where it's going to be kind of like when they get down there all in the USA jumpsuits or the Mexico jumpsuits. We wanted to have a positive spin on this thing. And I think we're getting that now. The reception down there, I just actually came back last night from Mexico. The reception is phenomenal. People are loving it. So I can't wait to do that show down there. I think we're going to have a lot of people down there and a lot of people talking about this.
Well, for someone who's never seen a bare knuckle event, what would you say to them, and what can they expect February 2nd?
I think expect things that not really what your perception is going to tell you. This is not a backyard street fight by any means. This is very technical. The guys take their times in throwing punches. You will see a lot of blood. They do get cuts. You will not see, and on that note, you will not see a lot of broken hands. Who people think you'll get a lot of broken hands. You will not see a lot of broken hands in this, because they're a lot more technical with what they're doing, and they're picking their punches. But what you will see is nonstop action from bell to bell, because they are all bouts are scheduled for 5 2-minute rounds. And when you hear the sound of the knuckle hitting the skin, it's like no other. It's not like the glove. It's just a whole different sound. And even me, witnessing all these and witnessing all the underground fights that I promoted to get to this stage, I still am on the edge of my seat at all these fights. So I think that's what the fans can really expect: nonstop action all night long. We have, one of the fights is Tony Lopez versus Joey Beltran, which a lot of people call the bloodbath from our first fight, which it's going to be an unbelievable fight. They just throw punches nonstop for 10 straight minutes, and it's great action. We have Leonard Garcia coming back, former UFC guy, action-packed, fighting Julian Lane, so that's going to be a great match. We have a ton of great matches here, but again, if I'm going to just do one sentence on it, non-stop fighting excitement all night long.
Okay, now how can everyone watch? Where can they stream
This is
BKFC
going to
4.
it's live on all cable and satellite pay-per-view platforms in the United States and Canada. So any cable company that you have or satellite company, if you're in the United States and Canada, it's the pay-per-view channel that you would watch the UFC or any other of the big boxing matches on. It's that UFC channel. If you're not in the United States or Canada, or if you want to watch it from your mobile device, we're available on Fight TV, we're available on Amazon Fire, we're available on PlayStation, so we're available on all the digital streaming platforms as well, but you can get it especially from Fight TV. And like I said, man, it's going to be a great night.
One more question. What does the future of bare knuckle fighting look like?
This year, you know, I have some really great things in store this year. We look like we're going to have 9 to 10 fights this year. We already have the first 4 planned out, going into June 1st. We have some talks with some big networks, which that's what I'm super excited about. You know, with only 3 fights in the bag, we're making some noise and we're opening some eyes, and people are opening doors for us because it's exciting and people want to see it. That's the thing about this is. It's not just like we're starting up a new MMA league or a new boxing league. This is a completely new sport. It's completely different than what anyone's ever seen before. And on that note, people are excited about it, and business people are excited about it. The networks are excited about it, and the fans are excited about it. So I think you can expect a lot in 2019. I think it's truly our breakout year, although we broke out in 18, but I think 19 is where we actually solidify ourselves as being really a player in combat sports. And then 2020, hopefully we can, we can all have, I can give me and all the rest of my teammates a nicer life.
Well, Mr. Feldman, thank you so much for taking out the time. Bare Knuckle FC 4, February 2nd, Cancun, Mexico. Best of luck to you, sir.
Eddie, thanks for having me.